All right, everyone. We have Vince Urich on. He is my partner on this Sub 2 deal we recently closed, and he's the one that put this all together. So I wanted to bring him on and talk this deal out for us. Welcome aboard, Vince.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Before we even get into the deal, tell my audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how we even connected.
Well, real estate broker, property manager, and also a sub-2 student, creative deals. We were essentially what's called in the business a unicorn agent, unicorn brokerage. So we like to find anything that's out of the norm and see if we can always find a solution. Because if you think through anything, you can always find a solution to be able to help out the seller, the buyer, all parties involved.
Yeah, and we met at Lake Erie Landlord Association. That's how
We
we kind of
did.
started our journey together. So.
Yes, we are a vendor over there at the Lake Erie Landlord Association. So that's our local RIA. And we try to get out to all the other ones if we get a chance to. We are now moving down into the Akron area, but we're gonna kind of stay focused a little bit more on that Lake Erie Landlord Association.
Awesome. And what got you started with setting up a brokerage? What were you doing before that?
Well, I was a real estate agent for a little while. Just tides changed when I was changing over brokerages, and I said, "Well, let's go in. I'll become your principal broker." So I went, got my broker's license, and a couple years down the road, I decided to jump off from that brokerage and start up my own, so we can do our own property management.
Awesome.
So
All right, so let's get into this Lyndhurst deal and how it even came about before it even ended up in my lap.
yeah, I have a number of contacts out there all throughout the country. A lot of different agents, wholesalers, anybody and everybody involved in the real estate industry. And if there's issues with some of their deals that they do and it's in my area, I usually get a call. So they'll call me, they'll see if I may be able to help out with these situations or not. And most of the time I cannot because it's already kind of past the point of no return for those. But this one, I sat with these people for about 6 hours and I was able to find out couple different solutions for them. So I gave them about four solutions, and they decided to go with the one that we chose. So where they were, when I sat with them, they were behind over 2 years. To bring the loan back up to speed, it would have taken 48 or $49,000 to get it back up to speed. And yeah, then they would have still been where they were, but we would have been able to take everything over right away. So what we did instead of putting in at least 50,000 plus whatever kind of rehab we're going to have to do to it, I had them go back through and they did an FHA restructure of their loan, and it was offered through Carrington Mortgage for them. So what that was able to do was take that almost $48,000 and they put it on the back end as a HUD loan. So that's not earning interest, but the interest rate did change, revise, and the payments are now a little bit higher than they were before. But it's still at a great rate and great, great margins for that area if we just do long-term rental. But yeah, it took a while, took a few months for them to actually go through that process and get everything back from the mortgage company, get approval. And I sat with them and held their hands pretty much the whole way. We went to the bank, we had everything notarized and got the deal, just kind of walked it through it and held their hands the whole way through.
So if we didn't get this, or if you didn't get this loan restructure done, they would have lost the house. I mean, nobody else is picking this up with 48 grand of back tax or behind payments. So
Yeah, that was one of the options that I gave them. I said we can just sit here and do nothing, and then next thing you'll get a knock on the door from the sheriff, and they'll kick you out on your front lawn, and
yeah,
then you have no choice of when you have to leave your house.
right.
So,
So along with restructuring this, now we are at today's rates, which isn't the most ideal, but because of the area, it still makes sense for this deal. Now, what did you do to well, what we did, I guess. I mean, you set it all up. I just came in and partnered with you. Um, as far as they're still in the house right now, so how do we set that up to make sure that we gave them a little bit of wiggle room to find a new place, and also, well, we gave them a reason to leave as well when it's time for them to leave. So
Yeah. Well, but how I set it up, actually, one day when I was there, pretty much, like I said, holding their hand, we signed a lease. So we signed a 6 month lease from the date that we started that. So from when we actually took over, we only have about 5 payments on the mortgage payment, but they are paying about $500 less a month for their rent compared to what we are paying towards the mortgage payment. So it kind of in the purchase price, we already have it built in that we're paying that additional $500 a month. And we had pretty much no money to them because we had to do a little bit of work to the house beforehand to get it up to code for the city.
yeah,
So
and
yeah,
yeah, go ahead. You got it.
yeah, and you wanted to get to the incentive of
Yeah.
what's so they didn't want to put any kind of a security deposit down, and I kind of had to talk them into it, and we structured it out so they do a payment twice a month, and they paid into that security deposit. So they didn't pay a security deposit all up front with their first month's rent. They've been paying everything in portions over the last couple of months so far. And at the end of it, when they leave, they're going to have their portion that they put in for security deposit. They're going to get that back, and that's that's only going to help them because they weren't responsible enough to pay their mortgage on time. I wouldn't want to trust them to actually set a savings so they can go to a place that's $1,200 a month and have $2,400 to put down to move into that new place. So I wanted to make sure that we had at least half of our bases covered with that portion of it.
Right. So you made it a forced savings account for them so that it protects us when it's time for them to move and they're like, we don't have that in the bank to move. So now there was, I mean, it was a little bit of a risk. I mean, we did you did some rehab on this before you technically even took it over, didn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
before it even went through and finished up through title, it was
Yeah.
still in their name. We went through, interviewed a number of different roofers and gutter guys. We got all of that work done and taken care of ahead of time. And city likes it. It's in great condition. Of course, the tenants will complain all the time. They complain that there was now dust in the attic because they did work on the roof. I'm like,
That'll happen. Yeah.
not our fault. They're going to
Yeah.
be hammering on the roof. So yeah, but otherwise, it's not deteriorating. It is not leaking at all. It didn't leak before, which was great. So we didn't have to replace any of the decking up there. So I I like what we have coming in. As long as we go back through, we can do the little bit of rehab that we have planned, and we'll be good.
Yeah, and I mean the reason for that roof was the in Lyndhurst, I mean most people don't know where we're at, but that's they're a little picky there as far as the city. So they were getting notices on their door
Well,
letting them know,
this
right?
one's been done for probably the last 10 years,
Yeah.
so it looks like one of those roofs that you see when you drive through East Cleveland that you just see only portions and pieces of it left. It looks like it
Yeah.
burnt off and just it's just singed.
Yeah. And let's even jump back to the beginning. Originally, you were supposed to I had a partner on this deal that I was bringing in and he was supposed to be the money and after he had somebody come walk it, he decided he just wasn't interested in the deal and really I think they wanted to do way more to it than need be. But that's really what led us to being partners. You're like, let's go 50-50
Yeah,
on this, right? So,
why not? I mean, I would have gladly taken it on myself, but I always like sharing in the responsibility and sharing in the wealth. and building knowledge. And especially when you came to me and you said that you want to be a part of something that is subject to because you have not had a chance yet. I said, why not? Let's bring them in. I know we're not going to make a whole lot on it right away, but down the road, it could be very fruitful. But then again, when you look at rentals, you don't look at one or two or five to kind of have your retirement. You need a good bank of those to really do something and quit working.
Right. And this one, neither one of us are looking at it as a cash flow play. We're not trying to make a bunch of money on it when we're renting it out. Let's talk about the mortgage we took over and about the current ARV.
Yeah, so the mortgage we took over, 195, 196 ish, right around there. And the current ARV is probably about 230 to 240. And we know with that area, everything's just going to keep going up. This is one of the largest houses on the street.
Mhm.
It's one of the rare ones on a double lot as well, too. So finding comps right around that area, what we're seeing are houses that are smaller than this that are on a single lot that are going for the 220s to the 230s. And this one being a larger property and this one on a larger lot, obviously I like our chances to be at the top of the market at the end of the day. When we do turn around to find an exit strategy and maybe sell it or turn around and wrap it to someone, whatever our options might be, or even refi it down the road, pull out some more money, get a better loan.
Yeah, I mean, if rates go down to 5%, it makes, makes it realistic to actually refi that. And now we have a cash flow rental as a long-term rental. So I mean, actually pretty good cash flow as well. But
Yeah, and I believe the rates on this are about 7.25%.
yeah. So it's not your traditional, subject to that people are bragging about taking over a 3% mortgage payment, but most subject twos are underwater when people take them over as well. So,
Exactly.
so worst case, if we had a fire sale of this, we're not losing money on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And the reason we did the restructure for them was
you're
that
good.
on your end?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. My computer was doing something. But the reason we had the restructure on that is if this was just purchased as a traditional subject to, and we were able to get it at their 4.5% or whatever they were at before, we would have had to bring in that almost $50,000 to pay that all those back taxes, plus now the roof, plus now the back insurance and back taxes, whatever else they owed on that. So we would have probably been in over 60, 70,000 easily.
Yeah.
And now we're able to take it over and then help them out in the long run as well too by even covering some of the mortgage and then finding them a rental place.
Yeah, so we're helping fix the problem, and that's what, anybody in this community that's doing it right is talking about. We're fixing problems. We're not always, I mean, of course, we have to find a exit that makes us money as well, but this was a deal that most people couldn't figure out a problem with, and you figured out a problem. I'm really just coming along from the ride and learning. So, I mean, I brought 15 grand to this deal to start. We had some repairs that I dumped some money into, and you dumped some money into, but not repairs. We had mouse issues or something. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. We had to get an exterminator over
Yeah.
there and get all of that stuff taken care of. Yep.
Yeah. So, but we're not dumping a whole lot of money into this property, I guess, depending on what exit strategy we do take. What's nice is we have multiple exits, and it's not pressed to figure out which one we want to use now, since we do have a little time with them being there.
Yeah, they are scheduled to be there until October 31st. So they get to leave by the end of Halloween there, and we get to take it over on Dia de los Muertos, November 1st.
So we got looking at it now, you said we had about a $1,700, a little bit over $1,700 mortgage on it. Long-term rents in
Yeah,
that area, what, around
I'm looking at
$2,100?
it now. We are at where's this payment? 1725. And
1725. So long-term rent's $2,100. about. So
In this condition, it's 2,100. If we fix it up a little, we can probably push it to about 22, 23. Um, but we want to kind of maximize whatever we can, right?
right. Um, but then we're looking at possible other creative strategies, of using it as a sober living facility and us not being the
Yeah.
operator, bringing an operator in, which will boost our cash flow.
I would absolutely like that. It takes a little bit off of our hands, so we don't have to run it as a traditional rental. We can just have the cash flow coming in for the rents, pay out the mortgage, and just have everything go into the account how we need to for any future repairs. And taking it over, I believe, as the sober living, they're going to be responsible for majority of the repairs,
Yeah.
except for the large ones. Like if the HVAC goes, we would be
Yeah.
responsible for that.
Yeah. Hot water tank, well, we just did the roof, so we're good. We should be good there. But any of the
Okay.
major big ticket items we're still responsible for. The smaller stuff, they're all responsible for. And we're making well over our 2,100 a month long-term rental rates for not having to manage the property. I would say other than that though, we both know being in the game that we still have to watch what they're doing and kind of manage the sober living operator to make sure our property's in good
Absolutely.
condition.
We want to make sure the property's still standing by the end of the day.
Yeah. So
And another thing that I haven't mentioned to you yet, right now, like I said, our mortgage payment is 1725 and change, but that's still with the existing insurance on there. Down the road, usually whenever we take over a subject to, I let people know take about 2 or 3 months, keep the existing mortgage in place or the insurance in place, and then go find something else. We can
okay.
potentially find a better or a cheaper option out there. I haven't looked into it yet, but I know a handful of them that I've utilized in the past that they are able to work with us, put it under our name, our LLC name, and then put the benefactor in there as, or not benefactor, additionally insured as
Yeah.
the owners on the mortgage. So everything is going to be on the up and up for the mortgage company. But then at the end of the day, we're going to save some money. So I don't even know exactly what the insurance rate is right now, but a lot of the times what we see is we're able to save about $1,000 a year on the insurance.
Okay. Awesome. And I mean that's gonna vary depending on what strategy we go, because I'm sure we have different insurance for
Mhm.
sober living compared to, you know, multiple different exit strategies. So
Well, I'm guessing that they would have to carry their own insurance as well too.
yeah, I really don't know. I haven't dug into that with them.
So
Well, hopefully you end up meeting up with the
hopefully we
operator.
meet with them
Yeah,
shortly.
yeah. Outside of that though, I mean, I brought money from a self-directed IRA, so it was money that isn't
Wasn't doing
stuff I could
anything.
touch anything anyway. I mean, yes, I could have put it into a private lending deal or something, but it was money I was willing to try something new with. But we had plenty of upside here, and we're both playing the long game. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'd be fine with sitting on it for as long as possible. And the benefit of that is if we have anybody in there, short term, long term, mid term, the goal of that is they are paying down the mortgage.
yep,
And at the end of the day, we are building equity because of that mortgage being paid down by somebody else. And also potential with the appreciation of the property.
right, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
There's
but I count on the equity more because you can trace and track that from what it's going to be. We don't know what the future is going to bring as to how much that property is going to appreciate in value.
right, and I mean, I never really drove through Lyndhurst until I was looking at this property. I mean, we're 45 minutes away from my house, but there's not really a bad part of Lyndhurst. I mean,
No, Lyndhurst is one of the higher end areas over in that region. It's a heavily Jewish area, so you do see a lot of the synagogues over there. And on Saturdays, whenever you drive through there, you will see everybody in their garb and and the Hasidic Jews who have the curly hair and the hats. You see them walking into into their places of worship. So
yeah.
it gorgeous area. I've always liked it when I grew up, and we would go through those areas, and they're doing a lot to build it over there too. There's a lot of brand new commercial areas going in. So just that whole area is building up and improving for the better.
Yeah, really digging into, the market over there when this deal was presented, like looking at every other city around there and even out by me, like the days on market is so low. Like it was like 17 days on market or something. So, yeah, houses fly off. A lot of them get purchased cash. Like it's quick moving market. So,
Yeah, and I mean the market these days now, it depends what area you're in, but there's so many of the areas today that just have low inventory.
yeah.
So once something goes on, it's usually going to go if it's listed within the right price point.
Yeah. Well, Vince, I'm excited about seeing where this goes and partnering
Yep,
with you and working through this. I appreciate you coming on and walking through this deal with us.
absolutely. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, let's look forward to the future.